It again. Oh, Andrew, we just had a whole 20-minute conversation to start this, and I didn't hit record.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the magic is dead.
I think so. And we were laughing. It was a good one, a good intro.
But you know what, audience member? You don't get to enjoy it now. The best has missed you because of technology, which is appropriate for today. We're talking about technology and how it makes life worse. No, I'm kidding. That's not what the topic is.
I want everybody here, but you're right. We can't go back. It'll just
You can't recapture it.
Well, what you missed, quick recap.
Quick recap.
Vaginas.
Yeah, my wife and her clone are crazy.
My 18-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
ADHD hijacking our brains and conversations.
Yeah. I'm a limo driver to no one. We talked about that.
Her laying in the snow for no reason. She's supposed to go shovel a neighbor's driveway for her sick sister. I don't know. No, the moment's passed.
It was magic in a bottle and we missed it.
Sorry, folks. Well, today's guest, Jerry White. What?
Fantastic intro. Like this is going to go Hall of Fame.
I know. Well, it was so good and we were on a roll, but now we're tired and hungry and our daughter has made dinner for us and so it's waiting.
Yes, all those reasons.
Or we just do it again.
I don't know. I don't know that we can. I think it is what it is. Let's do the intro.
It is what it is. Well, we have a special guest today. We're looking forward to this conversation. I know we talk a lot about AI, but this is important because it's taking over our life. And I do worry about our brain health, our critical thinking, but even just the brain functioning and dementia because we're never using our brains for anything. But today we have Jerry White. He's the Dean of Academic Technology at ECPI University. He's founder of My Tutor Plus. It's an AI-powered tutoring platform. He has 2 decades at the intersection of education and technology and creates innovative digital learning experiences, including apps and immersive AR, VR. Jerry writes and speaks about how AI shapes education and culture, exploring its ethical and societal impacts with a balanced, thoughtful approach. His work equips educators, parents, and professionals with practical insights to navigate the evolving AI landscape while preserving critical thinking and humanity, which I really think is very important, which is definitely what I am worried about. So enjoy.
Enjoy.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Why don't we start off with having you introduce yourself to the people who are listening right now?
All right. Well, Jerry White. Probably the main thing I do is I'm an English teacher. I teach English at ECPI University. And when I started teaching there from my alma mater, I got into technology and I started to do a deep dive. And since then, I've been kind of ramping it up. Started with the game development, built some MMO games for my students. We had actually English class and some games. Went in, the mobile thing came out, augmented reality. And of course, we know now AI has been out. Started working with some colleagues on that in about 2017. It was actually with the music thing that y'all know Suno just came out. We were working on something like that way back when. Couldn't get it to work then, and then, COVID, I kind of took a really deep dive into the research. And since then, I've been doing a lot of R&D, building a lot of AI for my school and for my students, and kind of working with students to teach them how to use AI. I have a son, teaching him how to use AI, and, the ethics involved with it, and, really knowing what's coming. If we don't prepare people for this world that's coming, we're not preparing them for the real world. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Lots. It's funny. I actually use Suno with my anxiety clients quite a bit, where we take their fear story and we plug it in, and it has the lyrics for that. And anyway, off topic.
Awesome.
It's quite interesting. I mean, this is a hot topic. It's something that we talk a lot about. I'm also a professor at a university. Constantly, every week, we're having meetings just about its use, and we have certainly lots of concerns. So I'm curious about your thoughts. I think the biggest one that we talk a lot about, we were just talking about it actually yesterday or this morning
Recently, yeah.
about just the critical thinking. Like people are just in all sorts. It's not just AI, just using technology without, they're kind of losing that deep thinking. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, there's not much research on it because it hasn't been out that long. But some of what's been out there shows that people to use it that use it for a ghostwriter, which, students, oh, here, you put in the rubric and boom, it spits out a perfect paper. People who do that, which are a lot, it's actually, well, one, they don't remember anything they wrote about. It's actually, I don't know how they measure it, but it's taking away from what they knew. So it's like it's robbing them from some of the information they learned. And the technical term is it's making us dumber.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons you mentioned critical thinking is it's a simple thing. Again, I'm an English teacher, so it's a hazard of the job. But I always tell students, especially like at a literature class or something, don't ever, 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 ever read something about what you're going to read before you read it yourself, because then you've robbed yourself of ever having a clean subjective opinion on it. And what's happening is they have questions, and their first instinct is to go outside of themselves to find the answer. And every time they do that, they're losing a little bit of something. And people, since this happened, have gone back and said, hey, wait a minute, we never really looked at what Google and search engines were doing. And it turns out they have kind of been doing the same thing. To sit a little bit in that struggle when you have a question, and I'm not talking, 20 minutes or something, but even 10 or 30 seconds, right? It's like, damn, what was that I thought of? And then going to look that little bit. I mean, that's what kind of keeps us on our toes, and everyone is losing that a lot.
We talked about that even with small children, like that critical thinking, as we're walking, oh, why do apples grow on trees and watermelons grow on the ground? Or one day my girls were like, what makes wind? How come we've got
Right.
wind? And it's so easy now to be like, hey, Google, where does wind come from? Whereas before, like when we were kids, certainly we would sit and ponder and kind of come up with whether we were right or not, but just being able to think about that, and yeah, we're relying so much on technology all of the time. So I love that. That's a great tip, right?
Yeah.
Like to kind of look.
Yeah, to look outside of it. So in terms of like we've talked a fair amount around, and Caroline just touched on it, but critical thinking as a whole is I think a skill that isn't well represented a lot lately, even pre-boom of AI. So in context of teaching kids or teaching young adults critical thinking, how can you do that? And then when you add the layer of AI, how do you make sure that beyond just that contemplative piece, what are some steps or actions or other things that they should be doing or teaching or learning to just have it as a base skill set, I guess, before they decide to go outside of themselves?
Well, again, it's a very interesting way to put it. You talked about the wind. And when we think about the wind, we can go and we can look something up on ChatGPT, and what's that has done, it's been trained on all the scientific data, and we could give you a meteorological description of where the wind comes from. You go back 100 years, that description was different. You go back 100 years before that, that was different. You go back 1,000 years. All we're doing today is explaining it the way we do today. We build a narrative off of what, and definitely we're empiricists and we believe in that. However, we need to realize that there isn't a stopping point for thinking. And we really need to teach kids that it's not like you learn this thing and then you stop. And so at that young age, not only is it, tenfold, their minds are sponges, but their brains are getting wired. And we have evolved to be wired by the environment, right? Just the empirical environment around us, not text, not just, there was no paragraphs, or, or anything like that. There was conversation and just pointing and listening. So that really worries me a lot, especially, you know, like 2023 to now, what are the kids that have literally had their brains wired through this? Is that going to look like? I'm going to see it in class in about 7 or 8 years. And I've already seen what the social revolution did. I'm seeing that in class right now, and it changed the game. I mean, students are different now than they were 10 years ago, way different. And so we do need to come up with ways to leverage the AI to help with critical thinking. And there are ways to do that by using the real world, explaining it. Like you said, so what do you think? What is this? You said you used it with your clients and you put in their fears. Well, let's come up with a story to explain why you think this is. Well, let's go to AI and ask about it. So it can help, but at that young age, you don't want to immerse them in it, I don't think, not for that learning how to learn component, because the only way that it can teach them how to learn is how it learns, and that's not how we learn, or not how we've learned for the past 100, 200,000 years.
Hmm. I came across a professor who did a quick little video on AI about, I mean, like with the ethics and everything, might be interesting to go into that. But, especially at the university level, not generating, like you said, here's the rubric, create my paper for me, but you create the content. And then you can use AI to check how is the flow, how is the organization, those types of things. So I don't know, like I'm interested in what you do and share in your classes and what your expectations are and how you talk about it with your students.
Well, I have worked a lot with this. I tend to find something out tonight and then I go try it in class the next day. And that's kind of how I've always rolled. But with writing, there's a few very important parts. One thing, I just had a faculty conference last week where I talked to the whole faculty about this. But I said y'all aren't going to like some of the things I say. One of the things we need to do is almost, if not everyone needs to start when they have a paper, or something like that type of writing assignment. They need to do it like English teachers have been doing it, which means they need to focus on the process and not the product. Right now, answers are cheap. Questions are what's important. You only get with the quality that you ask. I mean, we go back thousands of years. The questions now are as important they were at the dawn of the West. So the process is very important. Now, in that process, one critical step, and this is everything. You cannot query the AI about anything until you've written something down. Free writing is not as bad as people think it is. When I get my students to free write, and I tell them, I said, we're never going to do it more than 90 seconds or 2 minutes. If it's not coming to you in 90 seconds or 2 minutes, pick something that will. You don't want to mess with that. And you can come up with a lot in 90 seconds or 2 minutes. So if they know what kind of paper they're doing, okay, I know I've got to, if it's just an argument, here's my 4 points. So for 90 seconds, I write on each one of those points. Now, once I have those, then that's when you invite AI into the room. That's when you can start to query the AI about what you've done. What are some counterpoints to this? What are some flaws in the logic? Are there any different ways to arrange this logic? How would this look for one audience versus another audience? And you can start to do that for them getting to that planning step, which would be next is like an outline. And then once they get that outline, that's where free writing comes in again. And again, we're not talking a lot of time, like I said, really a minute or two. So now you know exactly what your paragraphs are. Just, bust something out for just those 6 or 8 or however many paragraphs. Then when you get to that revision stage, then you can dial it in. I've written a prompt for myself called my cleanup prompt. And it's the prompt that takes my free writing, and I free write like crazy. I am crazy. I write an hour or two every day. And it has cut a third of the time off my writing. Like that, because you're free writing, it's nasty, it's jagged, it doesn't make. So what in that prompt, I've basically, it cleans it up a little bit, but it takes pieces and it puts pieces together that should go together. If I, and then I can ask it, oh no, I don't like what you did there. Let's move it around. So through that planning stage. And then as you go through that process, revisions, I love to show the students how to dial up their audience. And you can do this when you're doing an interview for a job. You can do this for anything. And what I mean by dialing up your audience is you create it. So whoever it was, they're always wanting to change the world in 2 pages, which they can't do, right? So, but if they say they want to change a law, they're like, I said, who are you writing to? People, right? You're not right. Okay, people. What are you going to do with people? And you can't do men, you can't do it. They're huge, right? So you want to, if you want to change a law, so then they go, well, look, Congress. I'm like, okay, that's well, who on Congress? What committee does? They're like, oh, committee. Oh, okay. Who on the committee already agrees with you? Who doesn't? Who's in the? Who are you? So these are 3 people now. Who are these people? Where did they go to school? What do you, and you start putting all that information. Then you run your paper through the audience and you can have a conversation with it. So you can talk to it. I worked on something for kids that are on the spectrum like this, where it creates scenarios where they can have conversations, and it asks them like, what do you like to do? What games do you like? And it builds like a scenario that works with them. And it's basic, but that back and forth, at that revision stage in writing, but in any stage, I tend to keep the voice on ChatGPT on while I'm writing. It's like having a grad assistant. Okay, go check the 3 on this. Have y'all talked to the good, voice on ChatGPT?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh,
I knew it was, but I've strictly been text prompting myself. I haven't done voice yet.
All right, here.
I think Dan Martell was talking about voice notes a little while ago, and he's all about it.
I'm still new to the game. My thing that I really love is with LM Notebook. I can take one of my papers and upload it, and then the mind map, because I'm my ADHD brain to do an outline. Like I'm just thinking of, I wish I had that when I did my dissertation like many years ago, because I know my supervisors said give us your chapters with all of the headings and subheadings like before you do it. I'm like, I can't do that. I had to literally finish my dissertation and then I gave them my outline. But being able to upload and like the mind map that it creates, wow, like that saves me so much time. Then it helps me sort of organize everything, and I can kind of put things, because I do have the free flow sort of mind where I get everything down, but then I have no idea how to organize it. So I'm still new to the game. I don't know a lot.
Well, what you just described is you used it like a tool, like you would a hammer or a screwdriver.
Right.
Yes, you could take a rock and hammer the nail in. I've done it, but it's better to have a hammer, the right kind of hammer, so they're a good tool. But here, ChatGPT, what's the best way to use AI for writing papers?
Hey, Jerry. So the best way to use AI for writing papers in a nutshell is to treat it like a collaborative tool rather than a replacement for your own thinking. Basically, you can start with your own ideas.
What's a good way for kids to use it when they're trying to learn how to write?
Yeah, absolutely. So for kids, a great way to use AI when they're learning how to write is to make it kind of like a brainstorming.
Crazy, right? I mean,
Wow.
really good.
Wow. And it sounds like she's almost picking up a little bit of your inflection. I don't know if that's a thing. Does it do that?
It depends on the agent you use or what they've got loaded in there. But like Dan Martell, the one that I just heard is very similar. He's created a prompt that is meant to be an antagonistic, like a friendly antagonistic counterpart. So he's like, when I go for a run and I'm struggling with a problem, I use it through my earphones and I will talk to it as I run. And by the time I'm done my half an hour, 45-minute run, we've workshopped through my entire problem, and I just tell it to send me a summary by the time I get back to my computer.
Oh, wow.
So
That's awesome.
right. So it's like he's expanding it to this, to your point, like the mind map that you're creating, he's having a brainstorming session with a prompt agent that he's created specifically to get an output of help me work through a problem and get to the answer I know I need.
Wow.
Yeah. So but the writing is amazing because she's right. She was listening to you and it wasn't rigid. Like you cut the agent off to ask the second question and it just shifted seamlessly to the next question.
Yeah, it's gotten to a level, and you can put that on the back end of stuff with an API, so you can work it into anything that you make.
Yeah, it's scary good.
But also just scary. Like, is it too much? Are we losing something? Are we creating problems? I don't know.
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Because it also just feels overwhelming.
I think you said it's a tool, right? Like if you approach this as a tool and treat it as such, you'll get better outcomes. But if that tool is a crutch, so it replaces everything, that's where the problem is going to be. And I think that's, to me, the key part is how do kids especially, but
Right.
everybody, how do you interact with this in a meaningful way? And I think I like the way you're saying it in terms of come up with your own thoughts and then run it through the tool, right? Like that to me is a really key distinction because I do the same. Like what I've started to do now is I'll take meeting notes, and my meeting notes, you kind of hit on it yourself. It's kind of all over the place. It's really rough. Like I'm writing all over the page
Right.
and doing whatever. I'll take a picture of that and I'll upload it into the chat instance and I'll say, summarize this and give me these
Oh,
outcomes.
wow.
And then I go through and filter to make sure it got the right stuff and whatever. It just makes it easier because then I don't have to focus on the structure of what I'm trying to capture. I'm just capturing. And so for me, that's a lot easier because then I don't miss as much, right?
In crutch, that's just it. And what really it has me scared is that will push the easy button.
Yeah.
Most people, you know, a baconator is good. I know it's not good for me. I know it's going to kill me, but I'll still eat it. And
Yeah.
people will do that with everything. Like students are tempted with their papers. People are tempted with, they'll fudge stuff on their resumes. When it becomes a crutch, which it is for virtually everyone, because when you don't start with your thought, like you said, and this is what I tell them, what you end up with, it's not yours. You've basically plagiarized a model, which is just, like you would if me and you were talking and you were my friend and I just wrote down what you said in my paper and didn't quote it. It's the same thing that you do with the model.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the ethics piece starts coming in then. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important. Like there's no, everybody is going to want the easy path. Absolutely. But I think to me, using it as a sounding board is in a way one of the better ways to do it because it still has you involved in the thought process. I think that's kind of what you're hitting on too, right? Like when it's generating thoughts for you and you simply accept it, you remove your ability to really objectively review what you're being presented and see how it aligns. And then to your point again, if you don't have that original starting point, you've got no anchor to come back to. You're forced then to accept what it gives you as truth, whether it is or not, right? And that's where you get some weird results. So,
And people are doing that more and more.
oh yeah.
I mean, we're talking about kids. They're developing their subjective point, who they are. I mean, and as you get older, college kids aren't kids, but that's when you develop your real voice, like
Yeah.
who you are in your position. And so many of them are just willing to accept whatever is thrown on them. But as that sounding board, it's like this. A person is always better. Now, people are going to
Yeah.
argue with us on this one, probably even more in a year and 5 years. But when there's not one there, you can use this. You just have to use it in a smart way by, not just saying, "Hey, give me something," but actually dialing in what you want. And, like, that guy on that run. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's all about, I mean, it's the old adage, right? Everything in moderation, right?
Right.
If it is doing the heavy lifting on 80% of what you're doing, that's the wrong approach. It needs to be the other way, right?
Yeah. One thing that you said a little bit or like at the beginning of this was just how different students are these days and the way they learn is so different from even 10 years ago. I was just wondering if you could expand on that a little bit.
Well, it probably started in my teaching career. I've just kind of see it evolve. It, teachers, if a student's not looking right at them and like looking like they're hanging on every word, they thought, oh, they're not listening or, so when it first started happening, I realized very quickly a student might not be looking at you, and they're listening more than anyone else in the class. I've actually even had students looking at something else while we're talking and remembers everything better while they're doing that. It's kind of how their brain works, right? So use what you have. This is actually AI is a good tool to help them figure that out, like how they learn better and to dial that in. But so that's the first thing. Just everyone doesn't think the same way. Everyone doesn't listen the same way. And y'all know schools, kind of like factories. Okay, here I'm standing here. Everybody, this is a flat board. I'm going to write on it. It's not like that. I personally like a class just like what we're talking about right now. I guess they call it Socratic, but it's a conversation. You can learn just as much from the students as they learn from you, and you do. It's just different things that you're learning. So that was the first thing I saw. Now, social media, and that's an old person's term when you hear somebody say social media, but all of these networks that people live on, it's really shortened the attention spans. That's one of the big things in class. So you really have to do small nuggets, especially when you're talking, but even when you write or when you create an assignment, the bites that you have to give them are much smaller, and you kind of have to wire them together in a different way. It's not always linear. You talk about jumping around. That might be how someone thinks. They jump from the beginning to the end and then back. So I try to make things that are very nimble so that they can move them around. Soon it will be where you could actually do that technologically, but that's the goal. So they could literally rearrange everything that we've learned in a way that, works for them. Trying to build something to visualize. I know y'all seen the movie Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first Iron Man, when he first went poof and all that stuff was in AR, I thought, what if a student could look at every assignment they've done and see how they connect together in a 3D thing and tap on it and go and like see the connections that other students have. Oh, this even though this is English, it connects to algebra here, and that connects to my business class. So it gives what we were talking about, like multiple pathways for any student to have a way in. So in class, as a teacher, just trying to come up with a way to explain it for, first of all, every major, but then you've got every personality. It's almost the individual, the whole generic, I don't think it works with the learners that we've got right now. It's like they're so not used to, they learn better when it's much more specific to them. And, with all the bad things that we've talked about the AI, it really helps with that, to be able to personalize everything. I mean, with the system, it learns how they learn and it gives it to them the way they need it. So it's still changing, since AI. I haven't yet seen where it's much different. The people who will smash the easy button still smash the easy button. Some students, believe it or not, they're like, oh, this is cheating. I'm like, no, it's cheating, but it's not. So I go over it the first day in any class. I go over it with the freshmen and then walk through, like, what are the rules? Like if you use it when you're writing, and there are certain, like if you use APA, there are certain things you need to do. And it's just like anything else. And you've got schools who have completely shut it down. They're going back to blue books, which I love writing. So, but and I'll let a student, if they want, do that, but that's not the answer. Oral exams, I think that's a good thing too. You should have, but that's not the answer. Just doing that. We've got to adapt to this technology. And if we don't adapt to it and teach them how to do what we're talking about with it, they're going to run so far into the crutch mode that there won't be any of them left. And it'll kind of be like, we've been teaching the AI to think like us. No, we've been learning how to think like it. And that's when everybody starts to sound the same. Everything starts to look the same. That's not a good place to be, not for us in our culture.
And I'm seeing that we do a lot of like online learning, and then we've got online discussion forums, and everybody, thank you so much for your thoughtful and dynamic, it's very formulaic, and it's just driving bonkers.
Yeah, you gotta have your own personality in there.
A way to do that is, have you tried to make a custom GPT in ChatGPT?
Not yet.
You can create like for a discussion post, and it'll do it for you. You say, here's my discussion post. How would I create this in a scenario format that would be a conversation with the student? And then it writes something, and then it asks the student a question, and they answer it, and then it uses what they say to walk them through the whole thing. And if there are ways you can lock it down and everything. If you do it right, just tell them to put in the whole thread. And I mean, it's better than getting that formulaic thing, because even if they only did it for 30 seconds, they actually thought about something. And it doesn't take too long. It's so much better. I don't think discussion posts the way they work at all anymore for online, in-seat, hybrid, anything else. They're just kind of an outdated medium that AI can just do like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing that. I know we've got so much to learn, and I have so much to learn because I just can't keep up. It's so overwhelming. We were right before we hopped on, we were talking about the AI, what is it, deepfakes?
Oh yeah, the deep fake videos, yeah.
Any risks with those? Anything that, parents should be on the watch out for their kids with that kind of stuff?
Well, with kids, with AI, there's a lot to be on the lookout. The first one is characters. Have y'all heard of character AI?
No.
Oh, it's an AI that they can talk to, and it will take on the persona of anything, like whatever their favorite thing is, a game character, an anime character, if they're a furry, whatever it is. And there's a lot of malicious and bad actors in this. So there's a lot of ways people get into that, but the AI itself can wrap their minds in some ways and around some things that you don't want it to go. So parents really need to look at what AI their kids are talking to. There are ways to lock it down if you're on your Wi-Fi, for that. It's harder if they're on a cell connection. When they're not there, there are ways to do it, but that's very hard. You just need to have very frank and very, important conversations. You want to give them as much liberty and freedom, but you need to see if they're using like character AI or something, you really need to see this. I know you've heard about the different people who it's led to commit suicide. And they're trying to put guardrails up for it. And this is just the AI. OpenAI doesn't want it to do this. I mean, of course, it's not good for them, but it is enough like us that, in a good and bad way, that it was trained in a world like the social sites. It wants engagement. It wants to please. So it's going to do whatever it can to please the person. So it instead of like leading someone away and like automatically calling someone, which OpenAI does do now, it'll, why do you want to do this? And this one kid, it gave them ways to do it. It didn't
Wow.
only, it talked him into it like over a long time when you look at the threads. So that's a big risk for little kids. There's AI built into some games as well that they can do that. Roblox is a minefield. I haven't seen this much in Minecraft, but I've looked, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Minecraft is a great tool for kids. It teaches them programmatic thinking, and it lets them be creative and create narratives and all of these great things. But people have started to weave some of the AI into that as well. I've talked with not tiny kids. Probably the youngest is maybe like, I don't know, 7 to 9, and then different age groups about what AI is. They're like, what is it? And they kind of have an idea. Some of them it's just like, oh, it does everything for you, right? Some of them, oh, you can talk to you, so you can see what they've heard or what they've used it for. But have a frank conversation with what it really is. It has been trained on everything that we've said and written and all of this. People will argue with you on whether it thinks or not. Jeffrey Hinton, people call him the godfather of AI, the guy that won the Nobel Prize for neural networks and all that. He kind of thinks that they're thinking. They work, these language models, and there's a lot of different models. You've got the diffusion models with the images, the video, and we'll got to get to the deep fakes that you're talking about. But they they kind of use statistical analysis to guess the next word. So it's like, and they call them tokens. So it's like they're not really split up between syllables. They're just tokens. So think about them kind of as syllables is a good way to look at it. So it just keeps doing this and it gets fast. That's why everybody's trying to build nuclear power plants and build these huge, you know, sites like the Optimus, you know, from Elon Musk, and everyone's trying to do that because they need this compute, everything, and people are trying to figure out different architectures that don't use that compute, but now it does, and that's a roundabout way to say we don't know if that's what we do. We might do that. Our brains might literally kind of run an algorithm that statistically we have no idea what it is yet. So, like the Turing test, if it sounds like a human, it acts like a human, and you can't tell the difference, does it matter how it's doing it, you know, on the front end? Now, the video deep fakes, there's no way to tell whether they're fake or not now. There's no technology that's going to tell you that. It's just like the turnitin.com with paper. That's not going to cut it. So a new digital literacy is, you know, so much more. I mean, it's been growing in importance since the internet, but God, now imagine the next election. I mean, you're going to see everything. Now, there are some people that have come up with some different ways, like to get some type of seal or token from like the person who's putting the video out. So if this isn't on it, it's not me, you know, so that's one way to do it. But you know, before you hit send or before you share a post, always look in two places, right? I know y'all, you know, it's like, oh, I want to share this. Wait a minute. That's too good to be true, right? So with video, yeah, I don't think anyone knows really what we're going to do about that because you're not going to be able to believe what you see. And that's now on a screen.
Yeah.
With the Quest and the augmented reality glasses that will be here in 2 or 3 years, where you're going to see that Iron Man thing, you're going to see it right in front of you. Whew, who knows? We got to figure it out though. If not us, nobody else is going to do it.
You know, kidding.
It's also overwhelming. I don't know. Like, it's just, yeah. Well, I'm just seeing the South Park because he showed me the South Park clip of Trump. Like, it does. It looks so unbelievably real.
And that's not like if you go and play around and look at some Sora videos, they're unbelievable. The only thing that kind of tips you off is usually the incident is just too odd. Like it's not something that would naturally happen. But the people and the audio to the movement of the face and the movements, it's like a video. And then at the very end, you can, you know, they put their logo up or whatever, and you finally realize it's crazy. Like, yeah, we're steaming towards the future that John Connor tried to save us from, for sure. Like it's coming.
It definitely could.
Yeah, if we don't put some guardrails.
I wrote a
on some
book
of this.
about it coming. I know.
Well, I mean, there's so much like, I want to pick your brain on so many things, but I know we should probably wrap this up. Is there anything that we have not talked about that you think is really important for parents to hear before we sign off for today?
They need to start using it.
Yeah.
You can't not. That double negative. You have to start using it. You have to see what it does. Don't put your head in the sand because your kids are using it. And not only are they using it they're going to be using it in school. Everybody's going to be using it. So, you know, they're free accounts. Get a I like ChatGPT. I like OpenAI. Google has a good one, Perplexity and Throp. There's a bunch of them. And just start playing with it. The voice mode is really, really a good way to do it. That's why I like you, and just talk to it. You know, whatever you're trying to figure out. Hey, I gotta put together this birdhouse, you know, and it'll you know. So once they do that, it's gonna scare them a little bit. They're gonna be like, whoa, look what this can do. Right. And you're 30 years old or whatever. Imagine what a 7-year-old is thinking. They're gonna look at that like an authority. You've got to be able to explain to them the difference between authority and not authority and between something that's objective, and they don't understand the subjective part soon, but that's when they start to develop that. So you're talking about the wind, you know, why do you think the wind, you know, there's nothing wrong with what you think. You just look at the differences from what other people think. So that, to me, that's the biggest thing. You need to start using it so that you can, work with them along the way and help them use it.
Yeah. Great advice.
Yeah, that's great. Well, any last minute? You're good?
No, I'm good. This was very cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I will have all your information in the show notes, but for people who are listening right now, where's the very best way to find you if they want to learn more from you?
I write articles about AI all the time, Substack, jerrywhite.substack.com, jerrywhitebooks.com, jerrywhitemusic.com. I mean, I put all my stuff out there. And for teachers from every age, I got a lot of stuff about kids on that Substack. Got a lot of good articles to walk them through all different types of things with class, for parents, for your elderly parents, helping them with it. So that's a really good place to go for kind of what I've gathered over the last few years since it really started popping.
Oh, amazing. I want to go check it out right now myself. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great having you.
You too. I had fun. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thanks.